Welcome to the Pulse Point News. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon for more updates and thrilling short scenes. Picture a small Filipino fishing boat, its hull battered by years at sea, paint peeling and wood scarred from countless storms and close calls. The crew, faces lined with sun and salt, know these waters better than most, yet every journey brings new uncertainty. Today, the boat floats quietly in the vast expanse of the South China Sea, surrounded by a deceptive calm. The water glistens under the morning sun, but beneath the surface, tension simmers. For a fleeting moment in 2024, the crew dared to hope. Manila and Beijing had just announced a deal to ease tensions, a rare diplomatic breakthrough in a region so often defined by confrontation and suspicion. Fishermen dreamed of returning to Scarborough Shoal without being chased by Chinese ships, imagining a return to the days when their livelihoods weren't threatened by distant politics and foreign patrols. But the peace was short-lived. The agreement, meant to cool tempers, only shifted the pressure elsewhere. Instead of relief, a new kind of anxiety took hold, as everyone waited to see where the next flashpoint would emerge. China's focus quickly moved from Second Thomas Shoal to Scarborough, escalating the conflict in new ways. Patrols intensified, and the sense of being watched, of being unwelcome in their own fishing grounds, grew stronger for Filipino crews. For the Philippines, it felt like a never-ending game of whack-a-mole. One crisis cooled, another erupted. Each time hope flickered, it was quickly snuffed out by a new confrontation or a fresh show of force. The lesson was clear. Paper agreements without real enforcement mean little in these contested waters. For the fishermen, promises made in distant capitals rarely translated into safety or security at sea. Optimism faded as the Philippines realized the struggle was entering a more unpredictable phase, now reaching into the skies above. Surveillance planes and military aircraft became a common sight, signaling that the conflict was no longer just about fishing rights, but about sovereignty and national pride. The country began to rethink its approach, seeking not just to defend its rights, but to build stronger alliance for the storms ahead. Regional partnerships and international support became more crucial than ever, as the Philippines braced for whatever might come next. In the South China Sea, calm is always temporary, and the next wave is never far behind. For those who call these waters home, resilience is not just a choice, but a way of life. The July 2024 agreement was a response to months of dangerous standoffs at Second Thomas Shoal. Tensions had been simmering for years, but recent confrontations had brought the two countries closer than ever to open conflict. The world watched anxiously as each incident seemed to escalate, raising fears of a wider regional crisis. Water cannons, near collisions, and global headlines had pushed both nations to the brink. The images of ships locked in tense standoffs, with crews on edge, and the world's media watching underscored just how volatile the situation had become. Each encounter risked sparking a miscalculation that could spiral out of control. The deal was simple. China would ease up on forceful tactics, and the Philippines would give advance notice of supply runs. Both sides hoped this would reduce the risk of accidental clashes and create a little breathing room for diplomacy. It was a fragile understanding, but it marked a rare moment of cooperation. It was a confidence-building measure, meant to buy time and prevent a miscalculation that could draw in the US or others. The stakes were high. Any escalation could have triggered a broader conflict, pulling in regional allies and even global powers. For a brief moment, there was hope that dialogue might prevail over confrontation. But the agreement was narrow, focused only on Second Thomas Shoal, ignoring bigger disputes and other flashpoints like Scarborough. The underlying issues, sovereignty, resources, and national pride, remained unresolved, lurking just beneath the surface. This limited scope was its strength and its flaw. It solved one problem but left the door open for tensions to flare elsewhere. The calm at Second Thomas Shoal was fragile, and everyone knew it could be shattered at any moment by events elsewhere in the South China Sea. Within weeks, the calm at Second Thomas Shoal was replaced by a new campaign of pressure at Scarborough. Chinese vessels shifted their focus, and the cycle of confrontation resumed, just in a different location. The deal provided a brief pause, not a solution. China's ambitions remained unchanged, only its tactics shifted. For the Philippines, the sense of relief was short-lived, as new challenges quickly emerged on the horizon. The storm had simply moved. The underlying tensions, unresolved and ever-present, continued to cast a shadow over the region, reminding everyone that true peace remained elusive. As soon as the ink dried on the July agreement, the focus of regional tensions shifted almost overnight. The world watched as the diplomatic breakthrough, which had promised a temporary calm, quickly gave way to a new chapter of maritime contest. China wasted no time ramping up its presence at Scarborough Shoal, deploying more ships and intensifying patrols in the area. The waters, already fraught with tension, saw a surge in Chinese Coast Guard activity. Scarborough, a vital fishing ground within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, became the new front line in the ongoing struggle for maritime rights. For generations, Filipino fishermen had relied on these waters for their livelihoods, but now uncertainty loomed over their future. Chinese Coast Guard ships formed a near-constant blockade, doubling their patrols and creating a formidable maritime wall. The blockade was not just a show of force, it was a daily reality for those who depended on the sea. By early 2025, an average of 4 Chinese ships patrolled the area daily, making Filipino access nearly impossible. The once busy fishing grounds grew quieter, as local boats were turned away or forced to risk dangerous encounters. The Chinese used the 9-dash line as their operational boundary, intercepting any Philippine vessel within 70 nautical miles. This aggressive enforcement left little room for negotiation or compromise, escalating the sense of crisis. Tense standoffs became routine, with over 120 incidents in less than a year. Each encounter heightened the risk of miscalculation, and the world watched anxiously as tempers flared on both sides. China kept its word at Second Thomas Shoal but doubled down at Scarborough, tightening its grip and sending a clear message to the region. It would not back down from its claims, no matter the cost. For Filipino fishermen and officials, it was a bitter trade, a brief reprieve in one spot, a siege in another. The sense of loss was palpable, as families faced dwindling catches and growing uncertainty about their future at sea. The struggle for control had simply shifted, not ended. The South China Sea remained a flashpoint, its waters echoing with the unresolved tensions of a region still searching for lasting peace. As tensions rose at sea, a new threat emerged in the skies. Starting mid-2024, Philippine aircraft faced increasingly aggressive Chinese intercepts. In August, a Chinese fighter dangerously buzzed a Philippine patrol plane near Scarborough, dropping flares in its path. This was no isolated incident. Close encounters became frequent, with Chinese jets shadowing and intimidating Philippine pilots. These aerial confrontations raised the risk of a deadly accident, one that could trigger a wider crisis and draw in the United States under its defense treaty. China's goal to assert air dominance, just as it had at sea. The South China Sea was now a powder keg, both above and below the waves. The Philippines refused to back down, adopting a strategy of persistent presence and transparency. Coast Guard and fisheries patrols increased, not to match China ship for ship, but to show the flag and document harassment. Patrols rose from 21 to 31 ship days per month, escorting fishermen and asserting rights under the 2016 arbitral ruling. But resources were stretched thin. Ships often redeployed for disaster relief, leaving gaps China quickly exploited. The Philippines' resolve was clear, but its capacity was limited. Defense officials acknowledged, courage alone isn't enough. Deterrence needs real capability and strong alliances. This realization fueled a push to modernize and seek new partners. Facing relentless pressure, the Philippines launched a diplomatic offensive, building a coalition of allies. The U.S. alliance deepened, but Manila also forged new defense pacts with Australia and Japan. In August 2025, the Philippines and Australia announced plans for a comprehensive defense agreement, signaling a new era of cooperation. A landmark deal with Japan, the Reciprocal Access Agreement, would soon allow joint training and exercises. Trilateral cooperation with the US, Japan, and Australia became central to regional security. Talks with France and Canada expanded Manila's network further. The message to Beijing, the Philippines was no longer alone. These alliances came alive in 2025 with Exercise Alon, the largest ever joint drill between the Philippines and Australia. Over 3,600 troops, advanced aircraft, and warships from 4 nations trained together in Palawan, simulating real-world scenarios. The exercises built practical skills and sent a clear signal: aggression would meet a united response. For the Philippines, training with top militaries meant learning modern tactics and building credible deterrence. The message was unmistakable: any attack would risk a coordinated, multinational defense. The future of the South China Sea is uncertain, but Manila's path is set: national resolve, transparency, and collective security. The region's fate will be shaped not just by ships and jets, but by the growing tide of international cooperation. In these contested waters, unity is the Philippines' strongest defense.